Today we're going to be learning how to recycle some pallets into a decorative wall and some floating shelves. Guys, there's a good chance that in the past you've seen some interesting projects done with the wood from shipping pallets. These things are everywhere. Pretty much anything that's getting shipped in large quantities gets shipped on one of these pallets because they're cheap to make and they're very sturdy and they're designed in such a way that a forklift can manipulate them really easily. We are in the middle of redecorating our studio. We've got some paint up, we're in the middle of a couple projects, and now our next step is to redo this wall over here. This wall doesn't show up in our videos a whole lot in the past. We're hoping it will do so more in the future because we're gonna try and make it a little more photogenic. Instead of just being a pale, off-white, tannish colored wall, it's gonna be a wall made out of pallet wood, which has a lot of character and looks really good in my opinion. So we got our hands on a bunch of these pallets. We're gonna be doing two things. One is covering a big portion of the wall in the pallet wood, but we also need a good place to display our YouTube play buttons. So we're gonna make some shelves, and not just shelves with obvious visible supports. We're gonna make what's called floating shelves. Those are shelves where you can't really see how it's attached to the wall because it looks like just a box stuck right onto the side. We're gonna show you how we're building those. We're gonna attach it all, and then we're gonna cover that whole wall with pallet wood. Here's the basic idea. It only takes a few tools to turn old pallets into usable wood. We're gonna be using that wood to refurbish one of the walls in our workshop and make some shelves for our YouTube play buttons. First up, let's take a look at how we've prepped the wall before we put anything on it. So here's the wall. It used to be sort of tan colored, now it's black. And that's what I mean by prepping the wall. We've painted the whole wall black. We filled in a couple of spots. There were some bullet wounds. They're not completely gone, but since we're gonna be covering this whole thing in the pallet wood, it doesn't need to be 100% perfect. We like the black because pallet boards are not perfect. They don't fit 100% together unless you're gonna run everything through a planer and a joiner and make it all just finely machined. And we're not doing that. We like the rustic look. So this way, when there's tiny little gaps in the boards or holes or knots or something like that and we can see through, it just looks dark. You won't see the light colored wall like shining through it. So we've gone ahead, used a fairly matte black, covered the whole wall, and it's ready to go. The first thing we need to do is to get all of the planks off our pallets. And these planks, these flat, thin ones, that's what we're going for. And you can try and pull them all off, but if you do that with a hammer, you're likely to start splitting the wood. The nails don't always like to pull out. So I actually think the best way to do it is to just cut right down through them. I've got a reciprocating saw with a metal blade on it, and it should make pretty quick work of the nails. I've now cut down both sides, the left and the right, and so they're just connected in the middles. So now I can do one at a time with those. If while you're cutting you realize that the board is just really pressed up against too hard to fit the blade in, you can usually just grab it and start wiggling it, and that'll pull it away a little bit, enough to fit the blade in better. We've got our YouTube play buttons here, and we're gonna display them in this order: the silver, the gold, and the diamond. The gold is the biggest and heaviest display. The diamond currently doesn't have a display case, but we're probably going to go ahead and build one of these. It's gonna be a box fairly similar to this. It won't be as large as the gold one. And so we're just gonna have some floating shelves, one for each of these. It's gonna be just a little bit wider than each of these boxes. Should be nice and supported in studs in the wall. This one's actually quite heavy. So we need a very sturdy shelf that can hold that up. We may try and attach it to the wall a little bit as well, just to make sure it's really in there nicely. Here's the idea. We are gonna start off with this 2x3 board. A piece of this is going to get bolted right into the wall. We're gonna use some very strong screws going into some studs. That should give us all the support we need. It will not be this long. This is gonna be cut shorter. We're then going to use some pallet boards and build a box that fits right around this 2x3 board. So we'll have piece there, and a piece there. We're gonna use a table saw to cut these down so it all fits and is just the exact right size. We'll measure all of this, we'll take the 2x3 out. These three pieces will all be attached together after they're cut to being just the right size. Then this board, the 2x3, will get mounted to the wall, and then we'll fit this sort of box that we built over the 2x3 and attach it from the top and bottom so it's secured well. Now we're gonna use a jigsaw and just cut right along the pencil line that we've drawn in. I like the depth of this one. This one's a little too big, so we're gonna trim this down so it matches this one. These two boards do stick out from the wall farther than this piece, so we're just gonna add a few supports to give a little bit of extra strength. Excellent. Here we go. This will mount right here. We've got studs in the wall here and here. We're gonna have screws right there and right there. And you know what? Just to be extra sure, I think we're gonna put two more right here and right here with wall anchors. I've got these two holes drilled into drywall and there's no stud behind that part. This part's gonna be nice and strong, this part's not as strong, so we've got these wall anchors. They fit down inside the plaster. And when a screw goes inside the plastic, it actually splits the plastic apart and deforms it, making it grip into the plaster wall a lot stronger. So each of these is rated up to 15 pounds of strength. Two of them should give me 30. Then added that into the strength of the screws that are going into the studs. This should be able to hold the weight no problem. Got these two screws lined right up with those in the wall. Lovely. Now we're just going to use two fairly small screws in through the bottom, attaching this whole box onto the support that's in the wall. That should hold it in place. All of the weight gets distributed into the shelf, which is nice and strong, and it's really hard to see how it's being held up. That's what makes it a floating shelf. Now, to be honest, even though we've got this cool shelf, we are going to add a little bit of reinforcement in the form of hooks that attach to these things, because while I am confident that the shelf can take the weight, this is a little bit top heavy, so if anything bumped it, it could fall off forward. So not so much to hold it up as to hold it back. We are going to have hooks attached. Once we've got the whole pallet wall up, I'll attach a couple of those and that will stop it from ever diving off. With our shelves in place, it's time to actually start putting in the pallet boards all the way over this wall. This is actually pretty easy. We've got a nail gun with 18 gauge finishing nails. We're just gonna be using those right into the boards. We place these in a row. We're gonna do a full row of boards all the way across. Before we start going up at all, that way we can make sure that the entire row is the same width of board. That's gonna make it a lot easier to get everything to fit together nicely. Guys, our wall is complete. It's looking great. We've got the whole pallet wall all built up. We've got the floating shelves. We've got the YouTube play buttons on the shelves. I am loving how this is looking. It turned out super good, and it's gonna be really nice to have this sort of contrast to the look of everything else we've got in the studio. Pallet walls are pretty easy and fast to build relative to a lot of other things. There are some things you should know. You probably don't want to put them in like any kids' bedrooms or stuff. So this is a workshop, not a lot of reckless kids gonna be down here trying to climb on the walls and licking stuff. So it's a good place, in my opinion, for a pallet wall, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. This has been a super fun project, and I'm so glad you got to watch this with us. If you do end up making any of these shelves, or especially the pallet wall, we want to see it, so take pictures and tag us on Instagram and Twitter at thekingofrandom. Guys, that's not all. We've always got more for you to see. This box up at the top is going to take you directly to our last video. You should go check that out. The other box shows you what YouTube thinks you should be watching next. And you've got this bomb here in the middle. You hit that, you'll be subscribed to the channel, and that way you're never going to miss out on a cool video. Don't forget to ring the bell so you always get notified about it, and we'll see you in the next one. Talk to you then.